Let's talk about the Houthis for a while. So the Houthis, they're named Houthis because there's a family in Yemen called the Houthi family. They are a family of Sayyids, of descendants of the Prophet. The father figure is who's now dead, a man called Badr al-Din al-Houthi, was a great Islamic scholar, a very significant man. And his son, one of his sons, a man called Hussein al-Houthi, under this influence of persistent persecution by the government in Sana'a and the spread of Salafism and serious sort of discrimination against Zaidi Sayyids, it led a group of young men to start organizing around Zaidi principles. Ultimately, this form of organization, which was happening at the very north of the country in a governorate called Sada on the Saudi border, led to a series of wars against the central government in Yemen between this group called the Houthis, led by the Houthi family, and the central government. The wars started in 2004, and it was a series of about 6 wars, I think, that did not end till about 2010. These wars were extremely devastating for the north. There were lots of casualties, depopulation of entire villages and districts, and the Yemeni troops under Saleh and his cousins' leadership did not do well. The Houthis bested them in virtually every military engagement. The Houthis, who are kind of, you can think of them as tribesmen from the north, people kind of in flip-flops and AK-47s, having bested the Yemeni government and their forces in several encounters, were looking desperately, because they were under serious pressure, despite their victories, for anyone who could back them and who could ally with them. And the only helping hand that reached out to them was that of Hezbollah in Lebanon. This is a proxy group that is a proxy of Iran in Lebanon that is extremely well organized. It's both a political party and a paramilitary organization that has, as probably most of you know, institutions, an ideology that is based on Iran's ideology, extremely well organized, disciplined, highly professional fighting force, and that has given Israel a run for its money in every military engagement. This group, Hezbollah, around 2009, 2010, started offering help, initially through a series of intermediaries, people from Yemen coming up to Beirut and establishing personal links with Hezbollah. There's clearly some financial and military support that has flowed to the Houthis through Hezbollah from Iran ultimately. But more importantly than the financial and military support, which is still very nebulous as to the quantity and type of help it represented, more important than this was that Hezbollah offered a model for organization and discipline and ideological sort of strength and discipline that the Houthis did not have, and that they acquired by emulating Hezbollah. So they took on some of the slogans of the Iranian Revolution of Hezbollah, but also they started organizing in ways that were truly impressive. And you can see this from Houthi videos, where you see that the discipline and organization of very large numbers of individuals at these rallies was something that one could only see in the Arab world by looking at Hezbollah in Beirut and the rallies that Hezbollah organized there. So there is this influence, but it's not a very clear or direct or strong influence. It is ideological more than it seems to be military and financial. In any case, the Saudis, who are to the north of Yemen, saw this and were convinced, and still are convinced, that the Houthis, because of their relationship with Hezbollah and indirectly with Iran, are a proxy of Iran. They don't see that, in fact, they're a group that has its own kind of rootedness in the country, that has its own dynamics that predate the relationship with Hezbollah and Iran, and that is really deeply anchored in the society of Yemen and its politics and its history. By seeing them purely as a kind of Iranian proxy or transplant, the Saudis are making a very serious miscalculation in their reading of Yemeni politics, and the war is not going well for them. I'll get back to the Saudis in a bit. These are the Houthis, and the Houthis basically took advantage of the upheaval of 2011, the breakup of the ruling coalition between Saleh, his family, and a few other tribal leaders. And essentially, because they were sort of the one-eyed in the land of the blind, they were able to take advantage of the chaos that the Arab Spring uprising sowed in Yemen, and were able to take territory and conquer more and more territory, I think much to their own surprise and to the surprise of their backers outside of Yemen, and ultimately took over Sana'a.